Welcome to Porch Play Chats, sponsored by the American Association for the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately titled IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association, and as part of our work to support play, we've introduced Porch Play Chats, and there's more than 200 of them. You can find them by going to our website at ipausa.org. In that top right-hand corner, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, be a friend on our Facebook page. You can follow us on Instagram, or you can download the Spotify app free to you. And magically, every Monday morning, a new Porch Play Chat will appear in your feed. I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm president of IPA USA. And with me on the porch is Catherine O'Brien. Good morning.
Hello.
So Dr. Cat has worked in the field of early childhood for over 25 years in various roles, and currently she's the Director of Campus Childcare and Faculty in the Department of Education and Leadership Preparation Early Childhood Program at Texas A&M University in San Antonio. She has 5 adult children. You are way too young to have 5 adult children. Holds a bachelor in early childhood education and business administration and a master's in education specializing in early childhood, and an EDD, wow, my goodness, in teaching and learning. Catherine is also a lifelong learner, passionate about supporting educators, families, and young children. You're going to really enjoy her today. And Catherine's title of this Porch Play Chat is "What is the image of the child and how does that connect to play?" That is such a beautiful title. So let's get into it. What is that exactly?
Well, I really want to start this with just a question. When we think about ourselves as children, what did we think of ourselves? Was that based on the constructs of our families who raised us, the people in our community, even all the way out to, the outskirts of the government and like where we grew up, what state we grew up in, what country we grew up in? What is this we think about as ourselves as children? And then as we grow, and some of us into the field of education, thinking about, well, how does that connect back to the children that we work with or the students that we work with? And for me, it's twofold, right? Working with university students who are adults, and then working with in the child care center, younger children, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old. And what do we think about who they are as human beings, who they are in their environment, who they are in their culture and their community, and really just understanding how that's connected to why we invite them to do things rather than instruct them to do things. So I think about this in terms of like who I was as a child, and maybe if you'll play along with me, Deb, I would love it. As a child, I was a free spirit. I was the only girl, and I have all brothers in on my mother's side of the family. And so my parents divorced when I was 3. My mother remarried when I was 4. And I have an older brother who's 4 years older than me. So being the only girl, I think there was this idea that I was going to grow up to be the housewife, the traditional stay-at-home mom. And my mom was not happy when she was like, "What do you mean you want to get a career in an education? Like, okay, who's going to raise your children?" And so for me, it was kind of like, I've already done this child rearing with my youngest brothers. But who am I as an adult with those children? But then who am I as an adult when I started having my own children? And then, you get this comment back from teachers. Sometimes you go into a parent teacher conference or whatever, and they always say, "Oh, they're so great. They're so kind. They're so helpful." And you're like, who is this child? That child doesn't do that at home. Because kids are different in different environments and with different people. And that all comes from, how do we see them? What lens are we using to look at them? So when you were a child,
Oh, yeah.
that connect to who you are as an adult and how you see children in the environment that you work with.
So it's so interesting. So in my family, I was the first. So I had an older sister and two older brothers, right? So I was the youngest. And my youngest sibling was 10 years older than I was. And my sister was 19 years older. So she was already out of the house and um, in in a relationship with the husband of her children later on. And I was raised in South Texas in um, a home where the expectation was, you're going to get married and have children. So that I was the first person in my family to get a degree and then to move on to get the master's and doctorate. No one else in my family had a degree. They had high school diplomas. And so it's I know, see how, and isn't it interesting that the expectation was this, but the trajectory of who I was as a person was this. In fact, I would say to my mom sometimes, Mom, are you sure this is the family? Are you sure? Because I was different. Now, granted, my siblings and family were raised in a totally different time. The most loving, nurturing people ever, but the most bigoted, discrimination. Oh my goodness. I grew up right on the border of Texas. And so if they would say horrible things about people who were just across the border. And I would say, those are my friends. Those are the people that I'm in class with. I'm the minority as a Caucasian in my classrooms in school. And it was difficult to navigate, but they were loving and nurturing and supportive and wonderful here, but not here. And I played my entire childhood. I played, Mom was a stay-at-home mom, and after breakfast, I was outside, and at lunchtime, she put my little paper sack lunch on the back porch step. When I was thirsty, I drank out of the garden hose. Yep. And so, I played all day long in South Texas in 100-degree and 100% humidity.
Yeah.
During the summer. So it was similar to your experience growing up. But and so it was interesting on the previous Porch Play Chat with Heather. You guys won't be in that order, but Heather and I were talking about playing teacher, right? So even though I had all those experiences of playing as a child where nobody told me what to do, I still played teacher. I had my stuffed animals in a corner and I pretended like I had a chalkboard. And I don't know where that came from because I played.
That's not how you learned. That's not how you actually grew up. Right.
And
that's
it's not even, I don't know even where I imitated that from. It was so weird, right? Because I had never experienced that.
Yeah.
But
so that's the thing we have to kind of break down as an adult. I had to break down some of those constructs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that look like to be a facilitator of play, a facilitator of learning? What does that mean to invite children into your space instead of designing it so that you go to that center, or you go to that specific activity, and like designate that for them, right? Instruct them, because a lot of times we do that in classrooms, and instead it's, I'm going to put out these invitations for play, these invitations for inquiry and scientific thinking and discovery. And it's not about what I think you're going to do with it. It's me sitting back and saying, oh, I didn't think about doing that. Yeah. You did something completely different than what I would have done because I play differently than you do, right? Yeah. So this image of the child, I want to use this quote from Loris Malaguzzi, who is the founder basically of the Reggio approach, and that most synonymous, I guess you could say, with the Reggio Emilia approach. And this idea of where the image of the child came from, the 100 Languages, which is a poem, a beautiful poem that describes this interaction between education and instruction and facilitation and an invitation. But he says there are 100 different images of the child. Each one of you has inside yourself an image of the child that directs you as you begin to relate to a child. This theory within you pushes you to behave in certain ways. It orients you as you talk to children, as you listen to children, and as you observe the children. And so this quote unquote, this quote really encompasses everything that we just kind of dug into, right? This, how do I relate to a child if I don't have my own sense of inquiry? If I don't have my own sense of exploration and discovery and interest in something. Instead, we sit back, typically as educators, because this is what standard drives, this is what quality measures drives, and we organize activities, experiences, I call them experiences, but they organize lesson plans in a way that is just about meeting this outcome, this standard that we have to check off the box. And instead, we're not thinking about, well, what is that experience for the child? And truly, how do we learn anything if we haven't experienced it, if we've only been told the information, right? That whole idea that if I think of a child as a competent, capable, respected human being, then I'm going to come at that in a different light. I'm going to use a lens of respect. I'm going to use a lens of curiosity. And I'm not going to observe just to check it off the list. I'm going to observe to see truly and document the process that they go through, the journey that they take to learn certain things. Like you talked about, like play looks like a journey, right? It's experience all of these different things. And sometimes they're not connected. Sometimes they're, oh, I did this and then I'm, ADHD or whatever drives my brain. I'm going to go off on this little tangent because that now interests me. And then I'm going to figure out, like, how does that connect back? And maybe I'll never connect back to the original idea, but I have in my mind gone through this journey, this process. And what did I learn along the way? Well, there's so much I could tell you, but you have to stop and you have to listen and you have to respect that I have my own story.
Yeah, you have your own journey. Every child, who those little munchkins walk into our classroom with totally different experiences than we may have had, maybe in a totally different culture than we've experienced before, but yet we try to put them in our box, right? Based on what we've experienced and based on our memories, instead of saying, I wonder what your memories are. I wonder how you'll approach this particular provocation I may have left out for you to see if you're interested. If how your experiences within your family and in your community and in your culture shape how you see other people in the classroom, and how can I support that, seeing everyone as a human. I have this bumper sticker that I swear to you I'm going to create that says think human, not hate. And I've wanted to do that for like 4 years. So if there's an entrepreneur out there who wants to do it, go ahead. But it's this where we've gotten away from seeing people who have different experiences and beliefs as ours as not human, right? And so we dehumanize them. And so I think that is, if we recognize that the image of a child is different for every child based on who that child is, and if you go into it with this open nurturing, responsive relationship that is seeing the gifts in every child, not what they're not good at, right? You see you build on those strengths, and every child learns differently,
Yeah.
but
It was
all of
interesting.
it through
Yeah.
play.
Yeah. But all of it through these experiences, whether that is in the mud or in the rain. It's raining right now. It just started pouring outside,
Oh my
actually.
God.
Like,
And you're still dealing with the hurricane, right? The past.
hopefully it's past us and it's over further to the east, but we've got some residual rain still happening, which is good. We need the rain here. But that's one thing that's an image that we have, or that's a fear that we might have. Oh, I can't go outside because the rain is going to get us wet and muddy. And so that image of the child also comes from our own personal experiences, our own lens of that bias that we carry with us, right? This, well, you can't do that because that's not safe, or that's not something we would do at home, right? And for me, it's always like, if I'm setting up a space for children to explore, I want to think about what does it look like from their perspective and not just from my experiences, because I might have been, in a much more sheltered environment that's protected and wasn't allowed to explore. So you might be dealing with a child who doesn't know how to do those things, that doesn't have the creative license, like the ability to go create. And so they come at this with, oh, I'm allowed to do that? Like, did somebody give me permission to play, give me permission to get dirty, give me permission to explore, and to really allow my own thinking to happen, where that doesn't happen typically in a lot of classrooms that I've observed, classrooms that I've been experiencing. And I want to take you kind of on this journey of how this has played out in at least the last year. You and I went to Scotland together, not together, but together with our group of international IPA last year. And man, what an experience that was. I have to say it was probably the most spiritual, like, I can't even describe it with any other word, but it felt like an awakening of some sort, because I really felt like, oh my gosh, these are the people that I've been looking for for all this time. The people who have similar ideology around children and young adults, even, and just the respect that we have. And so when I came back and I was like, I've got to do things differently. I have to think about, how I've been doing things, and I want to continue to create that space for even our university students, even our, pre-service teachers, or those that are in the field that are coming to get education, and really think about, how do we change that mindset? Because I
Change
hired,
that image. Yeah.
yeah, 2 master teachers came in, tons of accolades, right? 20 years in the field, certified teachers, worked with young children, worked with older children, one an art director, who's facilitated theater. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need this mindset. And then another that was just so great with early childhood children and young children, and helping to help self-regulate and work with and so we're an inclusive environment. We're working with children, like you said, they all learn differently, they all have something different that they need, right? And I came back and I said, okay, who are these people that I want in my team, and how do I want my team to really be like, what mindset do I want them to have? So we started with this image of the child. And I said, I really want you to tell me, what do you think about children? Just tell me what you think about them. And it was interesting how hard it was for some of them to come back and go, well, I mean, I think that, children are really smart, and they are able, and they are capable. And I went, okay, great. Those are the people that I want in my circle. But when you come from a public school mentality, you've been working in school districts for years, that is trained in your mind. Like, this is what this looks like. This is what your classroom should look like. This is what it should sound like. These are the things you should be doing. These are the materials that you have. This is the conversation you should be having. The reciprocal relationships are there, but really, truly, it's more directive than it is, receptive. And so it was a breakdown in philosophy. And I'm like, but you told me that your image of the child was that they were capable and competent, but we don't allow them to be capable and competent because we think, no, I don't know if they can play with that the right way, or I don't know if they can use that material the right way.
And
What's the right way?
it goes back to, we have this image of, and we can describe it. We can list adjectives that describe the image of the child, but it's those we get in our experiences get in the way of helping us actually apply what it is that we're able to describe. And one of the things I think is a struggle for all of us is none of us want to wake up in the morning and say, how am I going to harm children today? Nobody wants to do that. Nobody. We are good people who are passionate about helping every child be successful. But the experiences that we've had that are different from our children's, or are preventing us from respecting the image of the child, of Johnny, of Jose, of Amon, of to walk into my classroom, because I have this, even though I want to see every child as an individual, and even though I want to respect every child as an individual, those are what I want, but it's not what I do. And so it's this reflective piece that I think we have to ask ourselves, what is preventing me from seeing Amon's development and being joyful at his growth over time, instead of frustrated that he's not on the same level as Jose is, right? So I really think that that's such a struggle because again, we're human, we're not perfect.
Right. But we also have to think about what is our role in all of that, right? So the teacher plays one role, the child plays another role. We know that the environment plays a role. And then there's this administrative
push down,
direct down that comes to us and says, no, that's not the way that I want this program to work. And I think that that's what was a turning point for us. And I think for my staff, it was the same way, a turning point where I said, you know what? We're a team. If you can't come to me and say, I don't think that this is the right thing to do, then we need to have a conversation, because that disconnect between the philosophy that you come in with as an educator or as a facilitator, as a mentor, as a child life specialist, whoever you are, whatever role you're playing, if that doesn't match the philosophy of the program that you're coming into, you're constantly going to be battling each other, and it's never going to bear on the side of that person coming in with this idea that children are wonderful and capable and able, and we need to respect them as human beings and contributors in their own right, in their own environment, and guiding their own learning and facilitating and constructing, co-constructing research together and be scientists together. Like, if we really can't truly have that connection to the program, then the program is just going to continue to perpetuate those same feelings of hierarchy, and the teacher is the person in the room who makes the rules, and there isn't any co-construction that's needed because the children just need to do what they're being told to do, instead of, you tell me, what do we want to do today? What's your plan for today? What's your plan for that? What do you want to do? What's interesting to you? Oh, that doesn't look fun anymore. Okay, what else can we do instead? And be able to be fluid with that, and allow the children to truly guide and truly design for themselves what does this look like? What does this feel like? What is this excitement that I want to have or that I do have? And then that role of the teacher, not even coming in as a facilitator, but somebody who truly is on the outside watching and
Mhm,
observing and then providing
mhm.
avenues and invitations and engagements and experiences that speak to what the children are telling you that they want and they need and they're interested in.
And isn't that what every child deserves? It
Agreed.
is, it is absolutely with the direction that we need to shift to instead of getting them ready for something that they're not
Yes.
yet ready for, right? Because they haven't had these wonderful explorations and discoveries that, and been able to follow their own interests. What we're doing to try to get them ready is actually interfering with their future ability to be ready. And so we
Yes.
have to just sort of take a step back and go, oh, oh, oh. So I've been going down this path and now I have to reflect on what I've been doing and what isn't working.
Yeah.
See each of these little munchkins as a laboratory of discovery and exploration. That's what early childhood should be. It should be protecting their childhood,
Yeah.
not getting them ready. Oh, Catherine, we got to come back and do this like 25 more times.
I know. I feel like there's so much to explore and
So much, yes.
add.
So stay right there while I close this out. To learn more about IPA USA, please visit our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, keep on playing.